strengthens my resolve, and I believe that everyone should look out for something better. And, you know, it may not happen today, may not happen tomorrow, but one day the global population, the earth, will realize that, yeah, we need something better than what exists now. And we already have that in form of Bitcoin, right? So, yeah. And someone that has been through some of these cycles, like me, and in fact, I think CZ been through more cycles, you know, he is still very bullish overall, right? He says the market is healthy. He's been quoted saying that we need to weed out the leverage, which has happened already, right? Waiting for a bottom, but overall, he's a holder, telling people to hodl, and I believe he'll tell you the same message. Basically, people will come to realize that not only is Bitcoin the greatest store of value, right, but it's the ultimate hedge against inflation, and it's really a hedge against the Fed and governments, right? It's something that can't be inflated, can't be, you can't apply quantitative easing to it, right? You can't really take control over it, not controlled by any bank or entity. You know, the network is free, and it's a very powerful network. It's a very powerful network. So don't give up on Bitcoin. Despite everything I just said, don't give up on Bitcoin. Plan B also. I haven't seen Plan B talk about this, but he, using his stock to flow model, which kind of became invalidated already, and a lot of people poke fun of him about the stock to flow model, but he's basically saying the exact times he has purchased Bitcoin, according to his stock to flow model, right? So he purchased his first Bitcoin back in 2015, around $400, the first yellow circle. The second time was around $4,000, right? And the third time is now, interesting, around $20K. Kind of like Michael Saylor, but unfortunately, both he and Michael Saylor are down since their buys. But that's okay. That's okay. As long as they believe, as long as they continue to hodl and DCA over long term, that's okay, right? The problem is a lot of short-term retail investors that don't quite understand everything that I've just said about Bitcoin, right? They're the ones that get burned out. They get in, they see the money go down, and then they lose, right? And then they exit. They don't truly understand. But people that have been in the space for a while, first of all, have been through worse. Second of all, truly understand. And if you really understand, there's no deterring you away from Bitcoin, right? So hopefully Plan B is one of those guys. I think so, since he bought his first Bitcoin in 2015. Someone who isn't one of those guys is Jamie Dimon, who we know is a big Bitcoin bear, right? But then he became silent because JP Morgan, his bank, now offers Bitcoin to their wealthy advisor. Their wealth advisors offer Bitcoin to their wealthy investors, right? They're also getting involved with crypto themselves. They have the JP Morgan chain, right? They have the JP Morgan coin, and they're very involved with crypto overall. Even some of their analysts have said very bullish things about Bitcoin. But despite all of that, Jamie Dimon is now trying to kick Bitcoin while it's down. He calls everything, including Bitcoin, decentralized Ponzi schemes. Before, he would say, I don't care about Bitcoin, but everything else is Ponzi. Now, he's even saying that even Bitcoin is a Ponzi, despite the fact his bank still offers Bitcoin services. So he's not one of those guys. He's not one of those guys that truly believes. But, you know, there's still some of these guys out there. They will learn eventually. Maybe not now, but they will learn. Maybe like Michael Saylor, maybe become like Michael Saylor, who tweeted this out: 130K Bitcoins equals 130K Bitcoins, which is true. The math checks out. Unfortunately, not everyone has 130K Bitcoins. So, but the math is legit. But you can simplify that. One Bitcoin still equals one Bitcoin, regardless of what it is. In USD equivalent, it's still one Bitcoin. So keep that in mind. And fear is very high. I haven't checked the fear index in quite a long time. 23 out of 100. We're back to extreme fear level. But here's the good news. Whenever there's a clump of fear, and yes, we've been stuck in this clump right here for quite some time. Whenever there's a clump of fear, usually good things happen afterwards. You could see over here back in 2018, also a clump of fear, and then afterwards, when the fear went away, had a good recovery. And then here, also clump of fear, although that was a smaller time frame. But yeah, we're definitely still in that clump of fear. That's never good. That's never good until afterwards. That's when it gets good. But as for Bitcoin, there's still a lot of smart people that are in to buy the dip, right? You hear that from a lot of crypto people, especially Bitcoiners. You buy the dip when things are cheap, when prices are low, right? What do? You buy the dip. You buy the dip and you DCA and you HODL, right? Really, that's the real winning strategy right there. And data reveals that's exactly what people are doing. Whenever there is extreme fear, whenever there's extreme, dip or correction, or whenever we're near a low point, people come in and buy Bitcoin, Ethereum, and many others, right? So the holders are definitely strong. Even the newcomers into the space, the ones that are actually learning why they need to be in Bitcoin and Ethereum and others, right? They continue to come in and buy too, which is why number of addresses with over 1 Bitcoin is still skyrocketing at an all-time high. Has not changed. So Bitcoin is still strong, not going anywhere anytime soon, right? And Stephen Chow, I'm not sure who he is, but he made a good point. Right now, as fearful as it may seem, it's very similar to when Bitcoin was below 4,000, around 3,200, around 3,000, right in 2018, right? It felt like that. The sentiment is just so bearish. There's so much fear out there, right? But obviously, 3,000 Bitcoin and 20,000 Bitcoin, a big difference, right? But it feels the same. It feels the same. And many people at that time also gave up, thinking that Bitcoin was going to drop to 1,000 or even below, or Bitcoin was done and is too manipulated and the governments control it and this and that. All the excuses come out, right? And had you listened to any of those excuses or any of the naysayers that told you to get out, well, you would have missed out all the tremendous gains that came afterwards, right? So don't give up. Bitcoin is the way. And the more you learn about the mess that we're in, the macro stuff, the big mess that governments around the world caused, the more you learn it, the more you realize that we need something better. And that is why I believe so many people are turning to Bitcoin. In fact, today I learned something new. I was reading some more articles. Someone commented this morning because I was talking about bond rates and bond yield rates going up because no one is buying. Well, that's only half true. The other half, reason why bond yields are going up is because the government is dumping, they're trying to get rid of their balance sheet, right? So they're dumping a lot of the bonds that they hold, and partly it's because of quantitative tightening, right? But also because they need the money. And plus, I heard an interesting theory about why they actually want the Fed, when I say they, actually want inflation to be high and prices to be high. But that's another story that I'll get into another day. But man, the more you learn about the mess, the macro mess that the U.S. is in and other countries are in, the more you realize we need something better, like Bitcoin, right? So that's why don't give up, focus on the future, and have patience. If you're looking to buy Bitcoin and crypto for the first time and you don't know where to get started, head over to CryptosRus.com and click on the best exchange guide. Within, you'll find a list of exchanges that I recommend and some that I use on a daily basis. So if you want to learn more, head over to CryptosRus.com or utilize the links in the description of this video.